comments or questions? Nope. All right. Last time we were in chapter 3, and we came to this section. We needed to go through this very quickly as I help us process what we read in Siegel and Bryce. We looked at whole brain strategy number 4, use it or lose it, exercising the upstairs brain. And we were talking at length about helping children going through temper tantrums. You have seen kids going, flipping their lids in the store, wherever it is. Some of you maybe at Thanksgiving, you saw a kid lose it. Maybe their parents too. And so this is one of the strategies that we are getting from this excellent text, whole brain strategy number 4, use it or lose it, exercising the upstairs brain. So Siegel says, provide our kids with opportunity after opportunity to exercise their upstairs brain so that it can grow strong and more powerful. And Siegel talks at this concept of decision-making, avoiding rescuing children or solving the problem for them. Right now, I want to invite you to think about ways to help children be decision makers, because children's brains develop from downstairs to upstairs. And so decision making is that one way in which that upstairs brain can get opportunities to exercise and get stronger. So think about that last point, ways to give children opportunities to make decisions. We're thinking about kids who are between the ages of 1 to about 7. What are some of those easy decision-making opportunities for them? I'll give you one example. When my kids were about 3 or 4, all of a sudden they got into this phase where they wanted to choose their own clothes to wear for the day. My goodness me, there were so many times they looked like little clowns, you know? And Itai especially would get so frustrated and tell them, bro, you look like a clown. You're gonna embarrass our family. But I would then remind her to say, we need to start letting go and look for other ways to exercise that upstairs brain so that they don't look hideous, but they get that exercise and they feel that autonomy and have that agency to make that decision for themselves. And we have grown leaps and bounds. Now my daughter especially has a fashion sense, you know? She likes to match, mix and match. My son's class, so my daughter is now 8, but one about age 4, that's when she started liking to mix and match and use that as an opportunity to make a decision, right? In terms of what she wore. My son wasn't into fashion at all, but there's a kid in his class, that's a Nike kid. And so Mufara is into Nike because of that kid. Kid is making our pockets very happy because he wants Nike now. But I'm enjoying with my kids, seeing them make those decisions on their own. So think of other examples where children can be given those opportunities to weigh in on decisions. Yes, ma'am? What? Food. Are you seeing something in your mind as you say that? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That's an excellent example. We'll come back to that in a second. Yes, ma'am. Jillian?
I was on the same tangent
okay.
of like what maybe they want. lunch for school. Maybe.
Okay. Awesome. Any other examples? Yes, Karina? Yeah, free time use. Oh, I'm gonna come back to all of these. Free time. And what are you seeing in your mind, Karina, when you say free time?
Draw or do some.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Drawing something creative.
Creative arts or some sort. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Yes.
My mom had this like time when we went to her. Me and my sister called it exercise time, but it was basically like an outdoor activity. So for the summer, like we could go on a walk, we could go very quickly, the park, swimming at the pool, anything that kind of like got us active.
Right. Awesome. Love it. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this counts, but I feel like when kids are really little, their parents kind of like pick who they hang out with or like
Okay.
set up dates. But then when they get old enough, they start to kind of decide what friends they want to be around and what people they want to spend.
Awesome. All of these are ways to help kids make a decision. Ita and I were talking about our friends, and so they use very different parenting styles. In this class, we've talked about the 4 different parenting styles. And so the one family that I'm thinking of, the mom likes to have the kids weigh in on too much stuff. That's really adult decision, zone. And so the husband asked mom, hey, what are we gonna do about jabs, vaccines for the kiddos? And so she looks at the 2 7-year-old boys and says, what do you think? And she says, no. And then he said, no, I don't want to hear from the boys. I want to hear from you. This is an adult decision. We can involve them later, but right now I want to hear from you. So you can see how their goodness of fit model. If you think about theories and try and make connections with theories, goodness of fit. We'll talk more about this a little later. And so you said, nope, that's above their pay grade. There are so many more examples, but these are excellent examples of helping children with decisions, okay? Do you think it's a good idea to suppress these emotions all of the time? When Sigo discusses vertical integration, do you think that early childhood mindfulness techniques such as medication can help children gain more control over their emotions in stressful situations? Furthermore, could establishing these neural pathways earlier in life promote faster development of the upstairs brain? So what are some ways to help kiddos manage difficult emotions? Because our 3 to 7-year-old kiddos, we might see those tantrums. We watched videos, we have discussed some of the things you have seen when kiddos flip their lids. What are some ways to support those kids? I know you have so many things to put into here, but the research shows that these are useful, helpful strategies to help children manage those difficult emotions as we think about vertical integration, helping our left brain and our right brain that Siegel and Bison described, and helping those be more integrated as we think about a whole brain child with an integrated brain. I don't know if anyone has any experience with any of these strategies or anything you would add to that list. Any experience with any of these? Or anything you would add?
I think the only thing I would add is crying. children learn to cry, and I feel like, well, I feel like a lot of people, like a lot of parents, are like, oh my God, the crying, they're like super like stressed out or something because their kid is crying, but sometimes that's the child is trying to express their emotion. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I like that. Especially when you think about different cultures and how crying is viewed in different cultures. In my culture, I've told you before, it's very hard for me to cry for two reasons. In my culture, it's frowned on, especially for men to cry. Even boys, that socialization starts really early on.
Yeah.
Boys and
Spanish
men
culture
don't cry.
does too, yeah, it's for little girls. Is that I remember that my parents used to, my family members used to say something to my male cousins when we were times for girls.
Yep, there you go.
They would find like, I guess they would find like more aggressive ways to take out their anger because of that or their emotions. So I feel like the older I find, I feel like crying is like a good thing for people. Sometimes it's the only way to release stress or anger or sadness.
Fantastic. Next semester, those of you who will take HD311 with me, Adulthood, Development, Death, and Dying, we will spend quality time reading a book by Bob Dates. In that book, there's an entire chapter on the benefits of crying. And so I look forward to seeing some of you in that class. That chapter changed my life. Talks about what crying is and what's going on in your brain when you're crying, and some of those benefits of how we can release tension, release stress. And so we will talk more about the physiology and the psychology of crying next semester. Awesome, okay. Switch gears. Siegel talks about helping develop empathy in our kiddos. And there was a vignette in the book about a kiddo who picked up a Frisbee that another kid had lost. And that was a beautiful way of putting a face to the concept of helping children develop empathy. So Siegel says you can help the child to exercise their upstairs brain. And you can see in the caption there, I know you want to keep it, but what will happen if the other child comes back for it and it isn't there? Some parents might say, don't take it, that's stealing. Stealing is bad. But do you see the difference with that response and what Siegel is talking in here, where you are helping them gain a skill? And so parents can look for and use these opportunities to help children develop a sense of morality in everyday situations. And so we watched that video. I'd like to make connections with things we've looked at in the past. How many of you remember the video we looked at that talked about the difference between empathy and sympathy? Who can try and give us a short gist of what the video was about? It was a simple video, but I want to try and help you remember what we learned in there. Yes, Karina.
One was like being kind of in trying to feel like in their shoes and like how they're feeling in their point of view. And the other one was kind of the same, but it's a different angle.
Okay, thank you. Good job. I'll come to you, Janae, and then you can chime in.
I'm gonna just tell you what I remember from the video. I remember there's like cartoons, and like one like cartoon guy fell in a hole. And I was supposed to like represent someone that you're supposed to feel like sympathy for. And then like the one who felt like sympathy, like climbed in the hole like with them and was like, I'm here with you and I feel the same thing and we're gonna get out of this. And the other person, just like empathy, was kind of just like peering in from the top. It was like, oh, that sucks. I'm sorry that you're down there. So I think kind of what she said, like one is being there with them and like feeling the same thing they're feeling. And the other was kind of just like from an outside view being like, oh, that must be really bad for you. Like, I'm sorry.
Awesome. That was from a TED Talk that we watched where the person was giving this vignette of cartoon God. So excellent. Yes, sir. You wanted to chime in? Awesome. So you mentioned the word connect. What does that inspire you to remember from our text when we say the word that you brought up, connect? What does this remind you of in our text as we think about the strategies that Siegel and Bryson have given us thus far? There's a strategy with this word that we have looked at so far. Connect and yes, good job. Connect and redirect. Well done. It's one of the strategies that we have read in the text so far. You connect and redirect. So you connect with the yes. Woo. Connect with the right, redirect with the left. Very good. So you guys remember the text. Excellent. Now, can you see in your mind's eye opportunities where you can apply the connect and redirect strategy that is given to us in the text?
If something they want, like, or they want like a specific toy or candy. Hey, I understand what you're feeling, I've been there too. Kind of situation.
Awesome. I like that.
Redirect. So maybe we can come back after. Or
Awesome. I like that. Let's make another connection with something else that we have learned previously in this class. We watched the video, different strategy by Dr. Cobb on that Dr. Phil interview, right? So if you are thinking about connecting and redirecting, as we make a new connection with a different set of scientifically evidence-based facts, what connections can we make with Dr. Cobb's strategy of toddlerese? What's the connection? Yes, ma'am.
He teaches that you're supposed to like connect with the kid by talking the way they talk and repeating what they're repeating. So you're making the kid understand, like, I feel what you feel. Like, yes, you want this. Yes, you want it. So I think that's like the connect part.
Awesome. Match their energy. And someone said that can be condescending to the young person when you say, you want to wear your Spider-Man shirt, you want to wear your Spider-Man shirt. And someone said that can be condescending, but you can do that and match their energy without raising your voice. You want to wear your Spider-Man shirt. You can match their energy with your posture, with your tone, without raising your volume. Because you remember when kids go high and their lids are flipped, you mustn't go high. You need to go low. I understand. Very, very frustrating. I get it. But connect, now you're redirecting with the left. So I need you to continue to make these connections as we continue to process this information. Whole brain strategy number 5. Move it or lose it, moving the body to avoid losing the mind. There's a vignette in this text about Liam who ran through the neighborhood when he got frustrated. Can someone find that section on Liam running through the hood? I forgot, I couldn't find my copy of the book. And so I would have had us look at it. Someone try and help us find that section that helps explain this concept of moving it or losing it. While someone is looking at that, the picture you're seeing is of us at the mall in 2019, Clackamas Mall. They used to have a Santa station, Santa Claus station, and kids can sit on Santa's lap. And
they have it this year again.
yes, but now, not in 2019, before COVID happened, kids could walk around Santa's station and play with the toys. This year, they don't have the kids walking around, touching, licking everything, right? So that's a good thing, a good problem. Is that the one way he runs in the neighborhood?
No, this is the one where Liam. This one? Liam is full.
Can I see? Thank you.
Is that the wrong?
I suspect it's the section before. Can you read from this section over here? So tell us what page you're on.
I'm on page 57.
Page 57. Let's read a little bit. Read that first paragraph and someone will pick it up. I'll tell you when to stop.
Move it or lose it, moving the body to avoid losing the mind. Research has shown that bodily movement directly affects brain chemistry. So when one of your children has lost touch with his upstairs brain, a powerful way to help him regain balance is to have him move his body. Here's a story a mother told us about her 10-year-old son and a time he regained control by being physically active.
Someone can pick it up.
2 days after Liam started fifth grade, he felt completely overwhelmed by the amount of homework his teacher had assigned. I agree with him by the way it was a lot. He was complaining about it, but he eventually went to his room to work on it.
When I went to check on his progress, I found him really put up in a favorite position on the screen. I encouraged him to come out to see at his best and keep up. He kept trying to do it to just, check it out. Then all of a sudden, he jumped out ran downstairs and ran out the front door and kept running. He ran several blocks to the middle of the
Awesome. Someone can read the next paragraph and then we'll stop there.
When we had him safely back in the house and he had calmed down and had a snack, I was able to talk with him and ask why he had taken off like that. He said he didn't really know. He said, the only thing I can think of is that I felt like it would make me feel better if I ran as fast as I could for as long as I could, and I did. And I have to admit, he did seem a lot more calm and ready to have me help him with his home.
Awesome. Thank you, readers. So Liam found relief in moving it before he lost it further. And that was very, very helpful for him. Many of you here, you have told the class how you have worked with kiddos, young people when they get super frustrated and anxious. Can you see in your mind's eye how you may have switched to a physical activity and that helped them? Doesn't only apply to youngins, 7 and under. It also applies to the teenagers at the nonprofit on the weekend. We have to find things for them to do, otherwise you will have problems. And we know exactly when to have them move it or lose it. It has to be around about 11. They do some physical activity of some sort. We have an indoor basketball court. So on yesterday, we played a lot of wall ball. That was so much fun. And I lost miserably. I was playing with them. I lost miserably, but boy, did I get my workout for the month in that wall ball exercise. And one of the kids, his anti-anxiety medications ran out. His doctor has not refilled his prescription. And so that morning he was asking the staff, what other medications can I take? I'm feeling very anxious. So my job is to train the skills trainers to help the kiddos manage their feelings and manage themselves to gain skills, right? So they said to him, your med hasn't been prescribed yet. The clinical team is working on that. But what are some ways that you can manage your anxiety? And so I coach the skills trainers to help the kid understand why they're feeling anxious. Where is the anxiety coming from? Help them understand that process and then come up with solutions. So don't tell the kid that at 11, shortly at 11, we're going to do some physical activity. Don't tell him that. Help him exercise his upstairs brain. This kid always, 14 or 15 years old. So he said, I need to go for a walk. You guys, if we can take a walk by the river, I might feel better. Like, okay, that's one idea. What's the other idea? Then he said, oh, we went to OMSI 2 weeks ago. Maybe if we go to OMSI, I'll feel better. That's an idea. Not going to happen, but that's an idea. And help that young person come up with strategy. And so we had a nice list. That took 20 minutes. I was watching the skills trainer work with that kiddo. They had a long list of wonderful things this kid could do. Kid had an awesome day yesterday. And when I said bye to him, he was just in a really, really good mood. So this is a very important strategy on ensuring that that brain is integrated. And that strategy not only works for young kiddos, but these skills and these strategies in this HD311 text continue to be relevant for our kiddos in HD312, our adolescents. Some of you here, young adults, can benefit from these strategies. Okay, switch gears. What can parents do to protect themselves from flipping their lids? I'm a parent, and there are many, many times I really flip my lid. And in this section, I gave you some tips that are not necessarily in the text. I don't think this was in the text, but this is extra information from evidence-based research. And so I just took a few of them. First, do no harm. Put your hands behind your back. In some cultures, spanking is allowed, it's permissible. And so in my HD314 class, we talk about the benefits and the pros and the cons of spanking kids. And there's more cons, despite whatever persuasion, whatever culture you come from, there's more cons to spanking kids. So put your hands behind your back. Sometimes the parent might need to walk away from a difficult situation. Remember the video of the kiddo who was yelling and screaming that he wanted to watch the TV now, otherwise it was going to be Armageddon. Remember that kiddo? Sometimes the parent needs to know when to walk away for a little bit so that they can calm down and they can come in low and not go high and try and match with the kid. Sometimes you need to tap out. There are times when I need to tap out and I say to Itai, yo, I gotta take a minute. Usually when Mufaro is arguing, you know? Or there are times, I'm remembering one time when the kids were much, much younger, and I think Matilda was crying, had been crying for a whole minute. And my patience I just lost it a little bit. So she said, you need to tap out, I got this. So sometimes tapping out, very, very important. Sometimes the parent needs to be the one to move it before they use it. Yoga stretches, some people really enjoy those. That's a nice way of diffusing the situation. Breathing exercises. When you have had a tiff with the kid, the repair must happen as soon as both folks are regulated. The parent and the young person, the caregiver and the young person, that repair needs to happen quickly. So these are ways in which the parent or the caregiver or the adult or the teacher or the skills mentor working with the young person can transition. How do you help ensure healthy prefrontal cortex development? So this is all information that was in last week. I'm not going to belabor these points, but I'm hoping that we are giving you lots to think about. I want to give you a quick exercise. I want you to think about how you would classify these tactics. What is the best way to deal with tantrums? In this exercise, I want you to find a partner. You four can work together. You five can work together. You four can work together. What is the best way to deal with tantrums, right? So I want you to classify this as upstairs brain or downstairs brain. We're going to put some application to what we have learned in this chapter so far. How would you classify these strategies when dealing with tantrums? Remember, there's a difference between an upstairs tantrum and a downstairs tantrum. So which strategy works best for downstairs or upstairs? Try and classify these. Why don't you take a few minutes and work in the groups I suggested.
Because I feel like it depends on the child and the situation. And they're like, oh, I'm just thinking hard. Oh, yes. Yes.
So dancers.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
So like the term they like.
No, wait, I just confused.
I'm gonna give you 1 more minute. I don't know where you are at, but just try and classify upstairs or downstairs. 1 more minute. Just guess if you're not sure, guesstimate. You guys are done? Ten seconds. Okay. What did you come up with? Command and demand. So downstairs brain is when a kiddo, the brain has become disintegrated and they have no control over they're now overwhelmed with emotion. The upstairs tantrum, kiddo is trying to get candy and they thought long and hard about it and they say, yeah, I'm gonna throw a tantrum. It worked last time. Maybe I'll get candy. That's the upstairs tantrum. So command and demand, what do you think? Downstairs, this group, what did you say? Downstairs? Not sure? This is probably a downstairs, you're trying to address what's happening with the downstairs tantrum. There's no right or wrong response, okay? But we're trying to exercise our upstairs brain in applying this material, okay? What about connect and redirect? Up, up. I think it's more downstairs because the kid is really manic and upset, right? And so you are now trying to match the energy and toddlerizing them into helping them to calm down. So which brain are you talking to? I think this one is more downstairs than it is upstairs. But I would not put any of these into a true or false. You understand? What about consequence? Downstairs, this side says downstairs, downstairs. Consequence. Can be both.
I was gonna say, I feel like it could also be upstairs.
I think upstairs, especially for upstairs, because upstairs the kid is being unreasonable, and you've done this many times. Therefore, now you need a consequence. This happens again, my friend, you're gonna get a consequence you won't like it. Works with my kids sometimes when they were much younger. So it can be both. So folks who said downstairs, not so much. But if a kid is struggling to regulate themselves, I'm not going to dole out a consequence. You understand what I'm saying? What about ignore? Upstairs. Upstairs. Downstairs. It can go either way. But I would think it's more downstairs than it is upstairs. But it can be both. What about bribing them? Oh, please don't throw a tantrum. I'll give you the candy. Don't embarrass me. What else do you want? Downstairs?
I feel like it's downstairs because they're in that very like agitated state. You just want them to calm down for maybe just 5 minutes or so,
Okay.
and then you get out of that situation, and they can have a tantrum maybe in the car.
Yeah.
But it makes sense where you're trying to like in the top higher brain, you're trying to reason with them, but I'm do both. Yes, I want to say more downstairs, but
Okay. So you go downstairs.
yeah,
If your kidney was on the line, you go downstairs.
yeah.
Okay. Other folks. Your kidney is fine. Your kidney is not in jeopardy. Any other thoughts? When you resort to bribing the kid with something, a treat, for them to behave or to stop the bad behavior. Upstairs,
I don't know. I second guess everything.
downstairs. I think it can go either way. Downstairs, you are giving way to the bad behavior for a bigger concern in the moment. So for example, if it's an unsafe place, whatever you classify as, you are now prioritizing the safety concern, it may be necessary to give him a bribe so that you can be safer and then get back. The issue is then getting back to, hey, what happened over there? We need to talk about what happened over there. That was an exception because I was prioritizing our safety. So I bribed you, but that won't happen again because you help them understand. Do you understand? Right? What about calming the amygdala? Downstairs, down easy. Role play for next time. Upstairs, good job. What about children stop if they assess their upstairs brain? Okay, I don't know why I wrote that. Okay. What are your thoughts about what the Bible says about dealing with tantrums? What do you think of that scripture over there? If you look at your syllabus, there are 4 core themes that we have to address as your faculty. One of them is core theme number 1, Christ-centeredness. So naturally, we go there. I go there happily. What are your thoughts about that scripture over there? There's no right or wrong response to this. But as we now step out of Bryson and Siegel and look at this, what are your thoughts?
Your opinion, because you never talked to me, you know, if we're dealing with temper tantrum, never really talked about the same. So, but it's accurate because it's like what if a child or kid is like that, and if you ignore it, like, you don't care. But if you discipline them, you care about the teacher, morals about them as a person.
Okay, all right. So you kind of, you agree with it? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Like I kind of see it as like you don't really care about your child and like, whatever they do happen, you know, let them continue to do it, you know, discipline them for it. But if you want them to grow and like, become a better person in the long run, you know, discipline them so they know what they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
I think it has truth to it.
Has truth to it. Okay, interesting perspective. Yes, ma'am. I'll come to you, sir, in a second.
I'm just gonna kind of talk about this the way we had to teach the kiddos in Bible school. So we kind of talked about how like in the same way that like our Father like in heaven like loves us and like there is still like he's going to discipline like us in our actions. Like if a father loves his son, like you're enough, like you're gonna love him enough to like discipline him and like put him on the right path to be like a righteous man.
Okay.
The man of God. Like if you love them, you're going to discipline them to make so that they can learn to make the right choices and become the righteous.
It's interesting. You spoke for about 35 seconds. Not once did you use the word spanking or rod. You used the word discipline. What do you mean? You don't have to answer. There's no time. There's no time. But notice how you didn't use those words. Spank, beat, rod. You use the word discipline. So that forces me to think about that, you know, and wonder what's going on in your mind. So you had a contribution. Good to have you with us, Dr. Waters. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on what you just noted from her. And on the previous screen, I think consequences and bribes are two versions of the same thing. And engaging the upper brain is trying to get them to understand why things happen. And, you know, we tend to think of consequences as negative. To me, this text is metaphorically saying, don't spare the rod. Consequences do not have to be physical violence, but they can be unpleasant consequences and make that connection clear so that they understand you behave a certain way, things will be better. You behave a different way, things will be worse. Choices still yours.
Right? Awesome. Thank you. Spoken like a parent. Food for thought. Think on it, you know. But clearly from the responses I've heard from folks, you spoke from different perspectives. You spoke from a cultural perspective. Culture plays a part. We never throw culture away. And the folks that you work with, your constituents, whether it's your students, whether it's children you work with in different forms, whether it's your own kids or families with kids, how they live and what they value and how they were raised, their mental models continue to play a big part in terms of how they help children manage difficult emotions. And so think on it a little bit. Personally, I come from a culture where spanking is very much allowed. I always tell you that in Zimbabwe growing up, we could get spanked at school for getting stuff wrong, you get spanked. And for me, I dreaded that because if I got spanked at school for getting stuff wrong or for misbehaving, I would get spanked for getting spanked at school. I dreaded and hated that. So it worked. But now living in the 21st century, I would not want someone spanking my kids. No. It's a fine line between spanking and beating a child and terrorizing and traumatizing them. And the research is abundant and shows that there's more cons than there can be positives with spanking. But there are ways of disciplining kids and being true to this scripture. So Itai and I pray for our kids a lot. We really do. and we do Bible studies with our kiddos. And we teach them what's acceptable, what's good, what's going to help them. And we hope we are making good progress. I think in many ways, we are happy with some of that progress. We are able to see some of those growth edges. That's what parenting is about. As I work with the teens at New Avenues on the weekends, I see where opportunities were missed. And that's my job, to train those skills trainers to help those kids come back and be on the right track. So I hope that was helpful to you. You want to turn to this worksheet. There are a few things I want to highlight on this worksheet for chapter 5. Integrating memory for growth and healing. In this section, we learned about 2 myths. The first one is that memory is a mental file cabinet. I will upload my notes so you can see what I'm looking at. In fact, let me do this. All right, we learned about 2 myths. The first one is that the memory is a file cabinet. When you think back at your first date or your first birth of your child, you just open the appropriate file drawer in your brain and call up that memory. That's a myth. What is the way in which the brain remembers? How does the brain remember according to our text, Siegel and Bryson? Associations. And what does that mean? The brain processes something in the present moment, an idea, a feeling, a smell, an image, and links that experience with similar experiences from the past. These past experiences strongly influence how we understand what we see or feel. Anytime we undergo an experience, neurons fire or become activated with electrical signals. When these brain cells fire, they become linked with or they join other neurons. These linkages create associations. This is what is happening in our kiddos' brains. And so to help you understand what this means, I pose a question to you, and there's a blank on your end of the sheet where I ask you to give examples of these associations. And to prime your thinking, I give you one example. I come from a country that loves and in some cases idolizes the game of soccer. And so as a 4 or 5-year-old, my father was obsessed with soccer, like many Zimbabweans were, still are. And so he would sit there and watch telly, and you would get into it. Mirror neurons. Remember in chapter 2, we read about mirror neurons, how certain parts of your brain fire as if you are on the field playing. That's why people get so invested in watching the game. So my father would get so involved in the game, but that house, you had to cross the line of vision, the line of sight, to go sit in the general sitting area. His seat was here, the TV was over there, everyone else sat on this side of the house. So one day, as a penalty kick was being taken in a very, very important game, I walked past and blocked his vision. Oh boy, you have to get out of the way. And he shouted at me. He startled me so bad. I ran away from him. And so I became afraid of soccer. I made an association with do not disturb dad when he's watching his game. Bad things will happen, he will shout, he will get angry. I don't want to get my dad angry. My dad was good, well, he was a wonderful, wonderful man. Very, very involved in his soccer. So growing up, I shied away from soccer, subconsciously shied away from it. I'm very sad about it. So one day he says to me, hey, what's wrong with you? You don't like soccer. This is one way we should be connecting. I was like, bro, it's your fault. You scared the lights out of me that day. And he didn't even remember And he was so sorry that that didn't happen. And he was mad with me that I never told him and never gave him an opportunity to fix it. And I said to him, it was very subconscious, but that's why. That's the reason why. So association is what is happening with our kiddo brain. The brain continuously prepares itself for the future based on what happened before. What's the second way that our child's brain remembers? Well, there's a second myth. So the first one is that there's a cabinet in the child's brain and they're just filing away memories. Nah, the second one is memory is like a photocopy machine, exact reproductions of what took place in the past. So we pose a question to what your text is saying about these two myths. How accurate are memories then? Memory retrieval is activates a neural cluster similar to, but not identical with the one created at the time of encoding. Thus, memories are distorted, sometimes slightly, sometimes greatly, even though you believe you are being accurate. So in the next section, Siegel is talking about how we encode implicitly in the first 18 months of life. And when implicit memories start to form, and I love how Siegel and Bryston really distill all of that information we learned in chapters 4 to chapter 7 of our main text at the beginning of this semester in Burke 2018. What theory comes to mind, what human development theory comes to mind as we think about all of this information that Siegel is talking at about how memory forms? What theories can you make connections? What theories do you remember? Sigmund Freud and the psychosexual stages of development. Is that the theory that comes to mind when you talk about brain development and mind development of our child? Getting ready to close here in just a minute. What human development theories are you being reminded of anytime we talk about brain development? Not, very good. Who is the theorist behind that stage of cognitive development? Piaget, very good. So if you want to revise that information, this is the class that you took in October, where we processed chapter number 7. So it talks a lot about how the brain is developing. We talked about the stages of Piaget's conception of how the brain is developing. And so what you are talking about is the pre-operational stage. So spot on. Our children between the ages of 2 and 7 are at the pre-operational stage. So well done for remembering and making those connections between the theories. And this is all information that we have looked at previously. I'm even giving you the page number in the text. So feel free to look at that information. And I am trying to remind you why Piaget remains relevant today. Always keep your eye on the ball and being thoughtful around why we talk about the human development theories. Piaget continues to inform, direct, guide, research around discovery learning, sensitivity to children's readiness to learn, acceptance to individual differences. All of this we processed back in October. So I'm trying to show you where those connections can be found. One criticism of Piaget's work as we think about this brain development is the lack of emphasis on language-based routes of knowledge. So a different theorist gave us a theory that fulfills this gap. Can you remember who that theorist is? With the what? With the V. Very good. You're on fire today. Vygotsky's social cultural theory. Vygotsky. And he talked about the role and the importance of language and competent and safe adults who can help children learn, thus complementing the deficit in Piaget's theory. In fact, that was, I put the date of the class. And so always remember the so what. That's part of this so what. And so I am excited for you to make those connections. Why don't we stop there and then we'll pick it up on Wednesday, okay? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the research paper.
Okay, go for it.
So it says news headlines.
Yep.
How recent do you want it?
It doesn't matter, but I'm hoping it will be something relevant, something up to date. But if there's a reason why you're going back to make a connection with an old news headline, sure, explain it.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to do is to help you to even better apply all of this information in this essay, where you're looking at current affairs that are affecting or impacting children in this age group. And then we want you to bring this knowledge from Bryston and Siegel and Burke and our human development theories, because you are getting ready to go into the world of work or into graduate studies. Some of you are going straight into graduate studies, and your research agenda needs to be compelling. It needs to affect the wider community as we think about child development. So go for it. Be as creative as you like. Go as far back as you like. I am excited to see what you will come up with your in your research essay. Are there any other questions? It's 2:42. You can use the remaining 3 minutes to work on these reflection questions, or you have until midnight to enter them into my WP classes if you want to give it some more thought. But thank you so much for a wonderful class, and I look forward to our next meeting. Take care. Yes, ma'am.
So the final is gonna be on the